welcome back to The Vision Within. It's December 2nd, 2017. This is the fourth segment, our last one for today.
Our last one for the year.
The last one for the year, 2017.
Woo!
And we're so excited you're joining us again. And please look for us, all of our videos, on our own YouTube channel, The Vision Within YouTube channel, and also visit us on our Facebook page, Rising Tides Global. Today, I am really excited about this topic, this last one. I think it's going to really balance everything out for 2017.
Right.
We're going to talk about balancing our feminine and masculine energy. Yes, we all have masculine energies, whether we realize it or not. So I'm real excited about that. I'm Lisa.
Loretta.
I'm Lori.
And I'm Katrina.
Great. So, Katrina,
Yes.
what do you think about balancing your feminine and masculine, or what do you feel like you have more of?
I feel like I tend toward the feminine most of the time. Now, there are times in business that I've sort of been taught over the years to think in a certain way and be analytical in a certain way and make decisions in a certain way that are for profit and to earn money, gain resources for the company for whom I was working, etc. I feel like that energy very much, especially the root of where that choice and behavior came from, I feel like that's the more masculine side of myself, like the business side. And there's certainly a feminine energy in that. And as I learn to do business in a way that is comes from a different consciousness, I feel like I'm able to balance the way that I do business. But for the most part, I feel like I tend toward the feminine more. And that's not to say that, I don't have both qualities within me, but that's just sort of how it shows. I'm understanding that it shows up for me at this point in my life. And I'm looking to balance a little bit more, not a little bit more, I'm looking to balance, period, so that as I approach and meet gentlemen and would be in the space of significant relationships that I bring into my life, that I would be able to allow them to show up as who they are and for the relationship to be really kind of fun and exciting and learning, and where we both are able to do more together than either one of us would do individually. And I don't know that that means that we balance each other as much as we accept the other person for who they are and just encourage each other's growth. So I feel like that's evolution for me, but I can look back over my career and my life and see where there are times when my balance looked different.
If you had to put a percentage today on your balance, feminine versus masculine, what would it be? I mean, like 50-50 would be perfectly balanced.
I'm probably 70-30.
Okay.
Yeah. 70 feminine, 30
And where was it when you
masculine.
were a teenager, do you think?
A teenager? Oh, yeah, it was probably like 90-10, honey.
Yeah, you had that toothpaste color on your walls.
Oh,
was
I
that?
did that. Pepto Pink, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, Pepto Pink. Just the extracurricular activities that I chose to do. I went to Catholic school most of my life, so that reinforces societal and faith-based norms for your identity in that way. And so, yeah, I was very much to the other side.
Life's experiences and work and everything, you're getting more to the 50-50.
I would say yes.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure that 50-50 is my goal as much as it is to understand that, I'm the source of my own happiness. I'm the source of my own joy. And however I apply that in my everyday life and decision making is okay, as long as I am considering the ramifications of my decisions as well.
Yeah, it sounds like, just knowing you own your own femininity and masculinity. I would have never guessed it was still 70-30. You seem balanced. But at any rate, you accept, appreciate, and approve where you are right now. I love that.
Absolutely. It's progress in a positive direction.
Yeah.
I still have a decent amount of work to do. I'm growing and learning, and I'm really fortunate that I've been able to learn from all of you in terms of how some of that shows up in my life. So tell me a little bit about your journey and how you feel like your balance for masculine and feminine has come forward.
Yeah, it's been a long journey for me. And I think a lot of it, to your point, is, how we grow up and what we're taught as children, that women should be this way, men should be this way. And I've definitely gone through the evolution, and when I look at how I dress, and my hairstyles and so forth, even over the last 6 years, as I, was with Mark, my hair was longer, I dressed more feminine, and then when I stepped into a new business role, I saw myself dressing more masculine because I felt like I had to not be a ball buster by any stretch, but I had to channel.
Do we need to? Is that explicit?
Please, no. Please. But I had to channel more of what I thought at the time needed to be. But then when I really started going back and reflecting on my mom and my dad and that kind of thing. My dad was an incredible business person, and it was through kindness and compassion for people and how he built his business, and it was not at all of, what we see portrayed. So one of the things that helps me just currently is that if I take the role models off the table for myself and I look at animals and I look at lions. I mean, the lioness is the one who does all the work pretty much, and then the male lion holds the boundaries, and but they work very much together. And so just even from an energy work perspective, I ask every morning that my masculine and feminine energies come into balance, and I feel myself standing different on my feet.
So if you were to put a percentage right now today, where do you think you'd put yourself?
I'm probably at 60-40.
Awesome.
And still a little more heavily masculine than feminine. Okay. I'm still kind of embracing the feminine a little more, but a lot more than
when you were a teenager, where do you think you were?
Definitely more feminine.
Oh,
I'd have to say. No, I take that back. I was more of a tomboy, so much more.
So you're 60% masculine now and 40% feminine. And when you were a teenager, you think
I was a tomboy.
So you think maybe you were more masculine?
Yeah, probably more like 75-25.
Okay.
So it's getting a lot closer, and I feel myself every day. It's really picking up speed.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Coming.
Yeah,
really
I agree with that.
And we've talked about letting go of our self-identity stuff in previous segments.
Right.
It's almost like when we let go of some of either the feminine or masculine. It's like letting go of an identity, right?
Right. Yeah. What about you, Loretta?
I have a lot of strong masculine energy. I also have a lot of strong feminine energy. And, I'm sure that I've been a man before in a previous life. I can sometimes have visions of myself, like swirling a sword on the battlefield. I mean, I've got pictures in my head.
Yeah.
I use my masculine energy to... when I need more courage, or when I need to get things done, or when I need to take care of something. I use it a lot at work also, but even, at home, because some things just takes my masculine energy. And then when I, with my feminine energy, I'm very much of a creator, very much of a nurturer, almost a caretaker. So I really draw on both of my types of energy depending on what the situation is that I need.
Sure.
Thank you for delineating the difference between masculine and feminine. We haven't done that yet. Right. If you were to put a percentage on your masculine and femininity,
I think it fluctuates. If I am traveling for business and I'm like in Europe and I, if I'm having to walk back to the hotel after a team dinner at 11 o'clock at night down a dark street, I definitely have my masculine energy out. Right. I'm aware, I'm looking around, the way I carry myself, very courageous. When I'm at home and I have my grandchildren for the evening, I'm down on all fours, playing and tucking them in, giving them baths, giving them cuddles. That's when definitely my feminine energy. So I think that I draw on both. I think I shift
Yes.
a good
And I don't
point.
think
that's
from one to the
perfect
other,
because
yeah.
you're in flow.
Yeah.
You're in
Yeah.
flow all the time.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, that
I-
is really good.
yeah.
I've
I
been
think you
working
have
on
to
that.
be in flow
You
all the time.
have to be.
Yeah,
Because
it's depending on
otherwise
the
we're going
situation.
against the
Yeah,
grain.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that we were born with both sides for specific reasons, so
Sure.
we can draw on them.
Right,
You
right.
know, and like I said, I think in past lives, I mean, I
I
obviously I've
definitely
been a
have
woman, and at past lives, I know that I've been a man on the battlefield. I can see it in my
Yeah.
head. You know, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like the best of both. You know, utilizing both.
You know, it's so funny that you would say that because I've had two different people who are intuitive through the years. One was when I was a child, and I went to see this intuitive with my grandmother. And my grandmother went to see this woman, and then I said, "Oh, Grammy, I want her to talk to me. I want her to talk to me." And
Yeah.
she was like, "All right." So thinking, you know, I was probably 9 at the time. I think 9 or 10. She was probably like, whatever. But I got up there and sat with this woman, and she actually was a palm reader, and I remember her looking at my palm, and she took my hand and she looked at me, and she looked at my grandmother, and she said, "She's never been a man."
Okay.
Ooh, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
And my grandmother said, "Really?" And then there was someone else within the last 5 years who said the same thing. It said, "I'm getting that you've never experienced a life as a man.
Oh my
Really?
gosh.
Wow. Okay.
Kat,
You've always chosen to come as a woman."
what does that mean for you?
I don't know. I don't know that I made it mean anything. I just thought it was interesting. And I thought, wow, that is really, you know, in terms of soul choice, isn't that just a zipping, interesting twist of fate? And I don't know, you know, there's got to be some higher reason why I would have made that choice. But I thought for some reason it rang true for me and rang with me as truth. And I thought that is really interesting. You know, and on the flip side, I think, you know, it's a huge learning opportunity for me when I'm in relationship with man to understand, be able to put myself in their place and understand where they're coming from, not want to change who they are. Because I identify so strongly with the feminine in so many ways. And I also think one of the blessings of being a woman and being feminine is that, you know, we have this, they call it the sixth sense or the women's intuition. We have this very divine connection both to our soul and to our vessel. And I love that that's part of who we are as women. And so I think that's part of what I get excited about when I think about that balance. But what about you, Lisa? You haven't really, we haven't heard from you yet about kind of where you feel your balance
I'm
is.
thinking through when I heard your stories. Well, let me just start out with what I think my percentage is, which I just off the cuff asked because I hadn't even thought of it myself. So as a growing up, I would say the flip from you, I was 90-10. I know you were high up there on masculine 90.
Oh, wow.
Feminine. And the reason why is I just look back. I was the oldest of 5, and back in the days, since I'm 61,
No,
back
you're
in this-
51. Remember?
Oh yeah,
the
51.
last episode? Okay.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So well, anyway, I'm remembering though back if I was the other age, we still had that stereotype that the first child was supposed to be a boy,
Male child.
Right.
and I thought I disappointed my family from that. You know, they never acted like it at all.
Sure.
But I thought and then they not only did they not have me as they ended up having another girl, and they finally got the boy 13 years after me, after I was born. So what is that? I found myself, I guess, taking on the male role. I just totally rejected Barbie dolls and baby dolls. And I was putting on neighborhood plays and musicals. I was this producer, this director. I played cowboys and Indians. I was this very active tomboy. But yet I looked so feminine. I mean, I looked fragile, and, you know, they called me Twiggy, and, you know, this and that. And when I went to high school, all there was at first was cheerleading. So I did the cheerleading, the feminine thing. But I was, you know, secretary of the student council, and I volleyball and track and tennis, and, you know, anyway, I'm looking back. So, and then became a lawyer of all things, and, you know, in the political world where there was manipulation, control, power, and I always worked with men all day long and loved working with men. And I had no girlfriends except for one girl in law school that I kept in touch with. And all my sisters, I was just so a busy bee, and I couldn't identify with women. I didn't identify with women until I was in a sorority. Okay. It wasn't then that I could really identify with women. For some reason, I couldn't identify with them. And then all of a sudden in my sorority, I started liking them. Whatever. So I would say it's been about consciously bringing in the feminine. And I would say today, I'd like to think that after all this effort, the last 8 years or so, that I am probably, 60-40, maybe 65-35, but I'd like to say 60-40 masculine versus feminine. And that has been huge, a huge transformation to bring in, to let go of that masculine power.
Right.
And I'll just say one more thing before I quit. I am so glad I was born a woman, because if I were a man, I think it would be a lot harder to let go of the masculine.
Right.
But as a female, and there's sirens going, so I must be saying something. As a female, it's a lot easier because I look like a female.
Right.
And, the big, and I mean, I have always looked like a female, and I think it's confused men throughout my life because they see this female thing, but then she's got this masculine energy. So I feel for the men because, they may think they're looking too feminine or acting too feminine to get more of that balance. What do you guys think?
I think anymore when I look around at the newer generations that are coming in so aware, so open-hearted, so open-minded, I see this shift taking place as we see masculine.
How we define it.
Well, absolutely. And as we see the feminine come back into the balance of consciousness and energy, if you will, on the planet. And what I'm noticing around me, and I think we've spoken about this in some past episodes, but what I'm noticing is that there's a feminizing and a rebalancing of the male energy where the younger men who would be in high school, college, and maybe in their 20s are looking, I would say the generations behind mine, are looking more feminine. They're looking not feminine but softer in the way they groom themselves, the way they dress, and it's more fitted clothing. It accentuates their male form more. It's traditionally been what's been about the females, right? You talked about you shifted even during your pregnancies from wearing the tented, more balloon clothing to the fitted clothing now. And so with women, women are redefining how we look at power, especially in the workplace, especially in our communities, and how we impact and affect change in our communities and in our workplace. And so, I'm noticing that shift in the way we look. And the way
because in the 80s, I felt like I needed to dress like a man.
Yeah.
In
we
the
wore
80s.
suits every day, remember?
Yes.
To
get ahead.
Yeah.
Let go of all the feminine dress.
Exactly.
And to your point, my son, who's 27, he is like that. He's got a really good balance going.
So do my boys. They have longer hair. I mean, very much embracing their speaking softly, choosing their words carefully. I think... we've talked about the last couple of days, we've had a lot of Mother Mary energy coming in. And I've just been aware of, when you look at some of the strongest women in history, they were very quiet. They were very quiet. And even, when they say in business today, the last person to speak wins. That, can you outweigh everyone and listen to everything? But I think we're constantly, every day, redefining strength, and it's really it's beauty. It isn't a power struggle anymore. It's a love, and I think the more that we open to that, and we see role models, and we see strength in. That the more we change. And just personal, one of the things that popped up was I noticed a shift for me when I was I developed early when I was young. I was very large breasted.
I did too. Yeah.
And my mom died from breast cancer, and I went anorexic and became very, very thin until I lost all of my breasts, because I think I was going through an inner struggle, you know, that I would be stronger and survive. And yet she was even in a funeral I went to yesterday, a woman who passed from cancer, and my goodness, the power that came off of the casket of, I mean, my goodness, she had, the church was filled. This woman was a powerhouse of the change that she'd made, you know, and so we can really embrace the feminine, that there is massive strength. Massive
I love
strength.
that. Strength in the feminine.
Yeah.
What about you,
Yeah.
Loretta? About strength in the feminine and her masculinity.
Yeah, well, there is strength in the feminine, and I almost feel like masculine energy is so much more external, feminine energy is so much more internal, right?
Are you
And if
able to
think-
bring a lot of, I mean, can you bring the strength of the feminine into your workplace?
Yes, through compassion and empathy and
Oh,
coaching, and
that's awesome.
And yeah, definitely, and you know, because I lead a team of people, and you know, we really have to all strive for work-life balance.
Right.
And people have families, and in my mind, family comes first. You know, if somebody sends me a text message and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I've got to go," you know, one of my children are sick at school, I'm like, "Go." Family is always
That's
first,
so
you know,
good.
and having empathy and compassion, and also the support that you give, right? You know, we're all trying to develop, and we're all trying to learn and grow, whether it's personally or professionally. And the kindest thing that we can do for somebody is to support them during their growth and development. I mean, that's, you know, so I think that's a lot, that comes a lot from the feminine energy.
You know, it takes more strength to be kind.
Yeah, it does.
doesn't it?
Absolutely. I will tell you the other thing I'm noticing in terms of, you know, as this balance is shifting and how that shows up in the workplace, and you talked about work-life balance. I'm noticing also with the millennials behind me, a generation and beyond, that there's a complete blur, and part of that I think is social media. So I think that there's an opportunity to almost course correct, because I think sometimes we've opened and embraced so much, it's like, okay, we don't have to, we can choose to set some different boundaries, because what I'm seeing in addition to that is like an overused strength. So at my workplace, kids call a ton. Somebody, you know, may have a problem with a sitter, and their child is sick, so they go pick them up and they bring them into work, and they're in a sleeping bag in their office. So there's some of that too. And with social media, our compassion and cell phones and technology, we have an opportunity to continue to set boundaries for ourselves too, balancing the masculine and feminine, and saying, okay, I'm going to put some limits on this. Like, I don't want to be 100% available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
I want to appreciate that balance. I see the millennials as wanting everything to be kind of all together and all one. Like, there's not a difference. What's beautiful about that is that from everything that I've seen, they view what they do as who they are.
Oh, I love it.
So that's the beautiful part of it. And I can tell you, for me, I'm still trying to balance that, because I want to shut off what I'm doing currently in my job. I might feel differently if I was doing something else as a career, but right now I want to be able to have a clear delineation between my job and what my personal life is. So I don't know if that's a more masculine benefit or a more feminine benefit, but I just sort of notice how what I'm creating for myself personally and what I'm seeing evolve in my workplace.
So I'm the same way that you are. When I mean, and there's times I have to take phone calls, or you know, I have to check emails, but for the most part, I have to be very careful, because if I don't cut a limit or put a limit on it, I will definitely turn into a workaholic, and it doesn't mean only from my work. It's anything. I can throw myself into something so much that I have to, for my own health, my mental, emotional, and physical health, pull myself out of it.
Right.
If I take this thing where because I like to paint, you know, oil painting or whatever. Not very good at it, but I enjoy it. But I can become so over-focused that if I don't set a time limit, I mean, I could stand there for 3 days and paint.
But that's the power now.
Yes, but it's also to understand.
like
Yeah,
that
I mean,
too.
to get,
I
I can't, because I can't. You know, it's you have to remember not to forget the world around you either.
Right,
You know, I mean,
right.
that's the thing. It's nice to
Right.
go inside yourself and do these things, but
Right.
you have to kind of set the limits as well. Yeah.
And this is kind of a little bit of segue back to the Mother Mary before
Yes.
we stop on this segment. My first name is Mary. And so back when I was getting a divorce, I took my maiden name back in 2009, which is Mary Lisa Hayes. But I always have gone by Lisa Hayes. Lisa Hayes really serves me. It really does, numerology-wise and everything. But I purposely wanted to incorporate the Mary because of the balancing. And I think it has helped me. And it's interesting that you're seeing Mother Mary come in. A lot of the ascended masters or archangels and things through the eons have been a masculine identity that, you know, young girls were supposed to identify with. No wonder a lot of us have had more masculine identity because everything, I mean, even when I was a little girl thinking I wanted to be a lawyer, I didn't know any female lawyers. I was just identifying with the male lawyers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And somehow it just didn't even dawn on me. I can be a lawyer, but I wasn't thinking of a female lawyer, even though I was female. I was thinking of being a lawyer, thinking I was somehow going to be a masculine lawyer or something. So we've come a long way, baby.
We have come a long way, baby.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful and enlightening conversation about all of our conversation around how masculine and feminine shows up in the balance of our life, how it impacts our choices and how we live and what we choose, the role models that we've had, and even our family of origin and our parents and how they role modeled just masculine and feminine roles for us as well, which I think is super interesting. But anyway, and how it shows up in our workplace and kind of identifying with some of those things as well. But I think it's been really great conversation. And the thing that, you know, I want to leave us with, because I think it's the most important, is that we've talked about this so many times, but we are the source of our own joy, our own abundance, our own happiness, our own prosperity. We are our source. We're the ones we're
looking for, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
looking
That's what
for
we're
or waiting for.
right?
So
Right.
why not be
Yeah.
and fully embrace exactly who we are in whatever percentage it shows up, whatever the balance looks like, and be in the flow and allow ourselves to be kind of who and what we are in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's when we're at our best and when our soul shines, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Katrina.
I'm Lori.
Loretta.
I'm Lisa.
And you can find us on Rising Tides Global on Facebook, or join us on the Vision Within YouTube channel, since we are now appearing on YouTube. Thanks so much, and happy 2018. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.